Welcome, everybody. It's Friday, January 2nd. It's 2026. This is the first episode of a new season of Resolve to Live Forward. I'm your host, John Morrow. Glad you could join us. Hope you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us by way of podcast platforms, including Spotify and the iTunes Store. Thank you, as always, for being with me. It's been a great year. I'm so excited that we were able to successfully go through the year 2025 and to bring you this on what would be the second day of a brand new year. I come to you on this particular episode with a slightly heavy heart. During this period of time, just since we were last together, I have lost two more very, very longtime friends and associates, people that I knew primarily through my house of faith, the place where I worshiped. These were friends that I did a lot of things with, but mostly the relationship was when I was an active member of our church choir. So today, since one of the things that is the very heart and soul of why I do what I do on this podcast is to help you find a way to live forward. That's what Resolve to Live Forward is all about. And living forward means moving forward, not past events that have taken place that have resulted in heartbreak, tragedy, devastation, loss, and so many other things that are negative to a great degree, but how to also be able to understand the importance of looking back on what has happened, find the value in it, live forward with that value, and be able to take what your life has been blessed by the experiences and associations and friends and things that you have done and be able to give those to other people along with a measure of hope. Hope is always an important thing. I also want to express right now the opportunity before we go into talking about this particular subject that I want to share with you today. I want to express my appreciation to those of you that have downloaded episodes from my YouTube channel. Once I started actually putting these episodes up on YouTube, and what basically speaking allowed me to be able to do this is that if you listen to podcasts, and usually, not always, but most podcasts are audio in nature. I use Buzzsprout, which is a hosting platform. I've told you this before, and there are multiple podcast platforms or channels that this podcast goes out on. And I do know that I get downloads because Buzzsprout's algorithm, its analytics algorithm, notifies me of when I have a specific milestone that I achieve in terms of downloads. The same is true of YouTube. And I did hit a milestone, 100 downloads. Now, is that 100 subscribers? No, but downloads are important because it means that there are people who are watching, people who are listening, people who get me. And I'm grateful for that. I appreciate you for that. And I do this, obviously, of course, I want to because I want to be able to give something relevant, useful, beneficial to the people that I'm talking to. But also at the same time, I want the people that I'm talking to know that I'm right there with you, that I am here because there are things that we have in common with each other. I guess you could say we sort of get each other. But in this particular situation, thank you for watching the YouTube channel as well as listening on the podcast platforms. It's so great that I can be here with you. Years and years ago, my dad went through a very, very dark time in his life. He struggled with prostate cancer, as I did. Prostate cancer, in and of itself, did not kill him. What caused my father to ultimately die was cardiac arrest, in the same fashion as my wife died. But of greater significance was the post op situation that he went through back in 2010 when the anesthesia process because he went under general anesthesia for this surgery, this prostatectomy. It messed with his communication center. Dad's mind was perfectly fine, but the ability to, how do you say, he knew what he wanted to say, but when it came out as gibberish. I've not actually researched this particular consequence of general anesthesia, but for him, since he knew what he wanted to say, but it all came out just a complete mess, he could not articulate. It frustrated him, and that frustration, that agitation, that anger at times, that almost, I'm sure there was probably a degree of rage and infuriation involved in it, set upon him a sudden cardiac episode. Basically speaking, cardiac arrest. His heart just stopped and he died instantly. I wasn't able to be there with him. And it was a very, very heartbreaking thing to lose my father that way. But back before my father was going through the surgical procedures that he was going through, I remember very clearly we were talking one day, and I didn't grasp it at the time until my sister would tell me a few years later after his passing. He said, "Do you know what the hardest part about growing old is, son? It's watching your friends die. Watching your friends die." I later discovered that the reason why that was so poignant and so difficult and so heartbreaking and sorrowful for him was that in that particular year when he said that to me, and I wish I could remember when it was to the day, that particular year, he lost 11 friends that he had been close to for several decades, mostly men who were peers of his and role models to him and dear, dedicated friends as part of his church fellowship, because my dad raised me in a church fellowship situation. And for that, I'm very thankful and very grateful. Church isn't just about hearing a preacher, isn't just hearing about scripture, isn't just receiving object lessons. Church is about relationships, it's about community. I have that same type of community in Toastmasters. So that's why I tell you I have multiple families. My family of faith is the people that I've known throughout the course of my life being involved in faith. And then, of course, the Toastmasters organization with the dozens, perhaps hundreds of people that I have known both closely and also loosely on an acquaintance basis, and naturally loved ones, immediate family, blood relatives, people that are very much about a part of your life growing up from the time you're born until the time that you come into the sunset of your life. And earlier today, this Friday, I went to a memorial service for a fellow friend that I had known for 35 plus years, part of church. He was the spouse of a young lady who was part of the choir, and I sang in choir. What's interesting is just 3 weeks prior to that, his death, the man that was the choir director for this very same choir and was a part of our lives back in the 1990s passed away. It's hard to watch your friends die. Even after time has separated you due to circumstances and all kinds of conditions, the memories are fond. The memories are beautiful. The memories are pleasant. And you wish sometimes you could have had more time with them, spent more time having quality time with them. But that was not meant to be. But it still leaves a place like a hole in your heart because now they're no longer a part of this world. They have moved on. You move on, but you move forward. You remember not so much the death as you remember the legacy of that individual. those individuals made a difference in your life. It's those kinds of relationships that as we grow older, we are saddened when they are gone. And so I started my day paying homage and tribute to a human being that truly was a great human being. And he leaves behind an incredible family. And that family is brokenhearted. He leaves behind a wife who is far more devastated than anyone else at the loss of her life partner. I get it. So as I talk to you today, I just want to point out something. We need to try to find a way because we're getting closer and closer to the final chapter of our life. Now, if you're a young person, this is something you would say, I don't get that, John. I don't think about that. I've got so much ahead of me. Yes, in all likelihood, you do. But as the years begin to accumulate, that means that the shelf life of yourself, of you, the human being, is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And there's an expiration date. As you get closer and closer to that, there are two things that become very, very much more in the front of your mind. But this is not being morbid. It is the realization that with less time left to live, you ask the question, what am I doing with the time that I have been granted to continue to live? And the second question is, what am I doing to make sure that the roots that I put down become the very thing that after I'm gone produces a fruit which is remembered because I left the right kind of legacy, because I sowed into the lives of people that truly mattered and I mattered to them. I sowed the kinds of things that bared a bountiful, beautiful, wonderful harvest of fruitful, loving, precious, memorable legacy type events in life. And life should be one that is celebrated while you're living, but even to the extent that once you are gone, it's still celebrated because you're remembered as somebody whose life meant something to others. That was the case of this gentleman who has passed away and who has left us and who now has a community of people that are mourning his passing, thinking about his loved ones. And those of us who have walked that same road of seeing that loved one pass, we are now in the business of being present in their lives, not to tell them how to get through this process, because truly each and every one of us is unique and different, and how we deal with, cope, and move forward and live forward with this is very much an individual, unique, selective thing. It's on a person by person, life by life basis. But the key here is that those of us who do understand are present just because we occupy that space where those mourning can know this individual gets me. This morning, when I sat down and I began yesterday on New Year's Day, brand new year 2026, I started a 2026 journal. This journal has a couple of expectations in it. At the very beginning, when I sat down and write the journal, I strive to write down three things that I am thankful for. In addition to that, this past Tuesday, on the 30th of the month, we got together. I have the pad here with me. We, as a group in a Toastmasters setting online on Zoom, like we are here, did a workshop planning, structured goal setting exercise, designing a year that truly matters. And it had a series of things that we needed to do in preparation to understand what type of mindset that we wanted to have in this process. And among the first things that we wanted to do was do a grounding process where we arrive at the best possible place to begin to think about how to lay out the course of the forthcoming year if we are allowed to see the light of each and every single day as it goes forward. And in the grounding, we needed to give ourselves permission. We needed to give ourselves permission to slow down, to allow ourselves not to be so harried and rushed. We gave ourselves permission to be completely 100% transparently honest. And we gave ourselves permission to dream without any form of editing. Don't set conditions. Simply allow your mind to go wherever you want it to go in that dream with no expectations to try to limit it, not even to allow that voice inside your head that always seems to want to say that's just way, way, way off base and too far out there for you to need to be thinking about it right now. No, no, no. It's a new year. What do you want to do with your life? Are you willing to dream, not just enough, but to dream so big that the part of you that would be realistic and rational and sound and thoughtful would want to say to you, rein it in. But no, don't rein it in. Rather, let it fly. Let it go. Let it be there. The beauty of this, too, is that in designing this year, I started that process this past Tuesday evening. Yesterday was New Year's Day, January 1st, 2026. I begin with the fact that there is that tablet that I have filled out. I have the journal with it. Now, the journal is like an accountability partner, but that designing a year that truly matters document, that worksheet, that is something that not only I add to, that I flesh even more out of, but I also create greater, more defined focus. Clarity comes as you see it again, and keep visualizing it in your mind. As you know, the letter V in my power word resolve is for visionary mindset. This is not a daydreaming exercise, not at all. Visionary mindset, I believe, is seeing yourself in the best light possible as you want to be, not just for your benefit, but you want to be the best version of you for the people in your life that matter to you. And you, guess what? Matter to them. Doing this is your way of creating an accountability system where you're actually checking your temperature, your emotional, spiritual, physical, financial, relational, checking your personal temperature. You're seeing if you've got not just a temperature, but a pulse, and that the pulse is strong. And in this, you provide yourself with clearly defined expectations. Resolve. One, having a definite, firm plan of action. That's part of the process of a definite, firm plan of action. Putting pen to paper and then consistently going back to the plan, tweaking the plan, getting rid of what doesn't work, adding new ideas, fine tuning that which does work, checking off milestones of success and achievement of goals, and looking at life not just as big things, and the big things are there. Those are the things further out in the future. But between that big thing in the future and where you are now, there are a lot of immediate, short term, intermediate, and long term goals that take you to that biggest goal. And would it also surprise you if I said I believe that in achieving that biggest goal, you might discover once you arrive at it that even though you visually, visionary mindset wise, thought every day about what that would look like, what it winds up looking like isn't just exactly what you pictured it. More so, it's even greater than what you pictured it. And what you don't want is to fall short of what you could have done. And even though I will turn 76 in 2026, I'm not done yet. Now, does that mean that I'll see my birthday on June the 9th of 2026? No, absolutely not. I can't predict that. I don't control that component. I only control enough of myself to know what I should do to take better care of myself and to be the best version of me. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, I can't control when my time is up. The only thing that I can control to a great degree, with both the expected and the unexpected, the planned and the unplanned, is to do the very best I can to the fullest possibility through the definite firm plan of action by exercising the best practices of proper behavior in life. And so today, to wrap up, I'm going to tell you that on our next episode, 1 week from today, on the second Friday of 2026, I'm going to talk about a theme for the year. That theme is important because I'm going to share my theme with you. But I will tell you this, as we conclude today, never forget, resolve, the word resolve, my power word, and it has been my power word since November of 2017, is defined as having a definite firm plan of action and using the 7 letters of resolve, RESOLVE. You've heard this before. Some of you maybe not, but most of you have. These behaviors: resilience, engagement, service, organization, love of learning, learning constantly, lifelong learning, visionary mindset, and enthusiastic mindset, and enthusiastic lifestyle. Those 7 behaviors are behaviors that you live, all 7 of them, every single day. If you live all 7 of those, there is a holistic process that is taking place because you got your mind in the right place to accomplish things and to overcome the difficult, to overcome the tragic, to overcome the devastating, to overcome not defeats, failures, because the failures you study, you learn, and the failures help you to know what to do right the next time. Remember that adage too about how insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Stop that, stop that, stop that. In 2026, here's an adage that I want you to adopt. Make it click in 2026. Make it click in 2026. My goal to you this week is this. If you can set down, starting even today, if you want to, depending upon what time you're watching this program, if it's today, but on whatever day it is, if you can start that day, great. But at some point during the day, write down 3 things, three things only. I've offered this idea before, but I'm reinforcing it. Three things that you are thankful for. Don't just think of big things. Learn to be thankful for those little, I never noticed before moments. Begin to look for the delights, the little things that make life meaningful. Meaningful. It's a resolved mindset. It's a personal best practices mindset. And next week, perhaps together, we can work to help you create a theme for the year that ties in with your power word and with your best practices for successful living day by day as you are granted the privilege of living yet another day. Which brings me to the conclusion of today's episode of Resolve to Live Forward on this Friday, January the 2nd, 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. My prayer, my wish, my hope, my desire for you is that you will discover and achieve the greatest desires of your heart. But remember, don't be so selfish that you forget that if you want the desires of your heart, you also want to make sure that others get the desires of their heart. And you can be a part of that by being the best version of you in front of them. Of course, Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast, is on multiple podcast platforms, including Spotify and the iTunes Store. It is also on my YouTube channel. And Resolve to Live Forward also has an email address. It is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you. It's been an honor being with you. Thank you for the privilege of being here for you and with you, and thank you for your connection. It means the world. As I conclude, always remember, never, never stop seeking and striving to live forward. Until next time, John Morrow saying so long.